Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about how we can improve public schools' academic accommodations. Exactly what that means, and what we can do about it. We'll talk about that in this video. First thing we're going to want to talk about is what young learners really need. Second is what's happening when we lose them. Why are we losing them? When do we lose them? That we're going to want to have a conversation about. And what's wrong with our accommodations now? So if they need to be improved, that applies to something that we aren't doing well. And then what are four things that we can that could really change all of this? We'll talk about those things and more in this video. First, when we talk about what young learners need, there's the obvious. They need to begin to learn language skills, right? Reading, writing, communication, the language of math, right? Arithmetic, some of the foundational principles there. So from an academic standpoint, the old traditional reading, writing, and arithmetic still stands. When we think in terms of classical education, that kind of included this idea of grammar, right? The structure of language. It is very important to teach that. It needs to be taught. Beyond that, we want to really instill this idea of having the right mindset, a mindset filled with curiosity, filled with a belief that they can learn, and breaking some patterns that may be popping up in there when they start comparing themselves to others, which is a natural inclination to do. But when you do that, you can begin to snuff out your own belief in your ability to learn. Teachers need to be aware of that and understand how to interrupt those patterns. This whole idea of shaping a mindset from day one is crucial, and fostering that love of learning and that curiosity, along with the discipline, self-teaching, and this idea of being able to learn in a group as well as independent learning. You learn at your own pace. When we begin to really build those principles into the culture of a school system, that's going to be like awesome for the kids. So my experience in 30 years working primarily with middle school students is that somewhere in the elementary school years, we've begun to snuff out some of that curiosity, that innate desire to learn. Students begin to develop beliefs that they can't learn, that they're kind of fixed, that they are dumb, or some of these negative labels that they've attached to themselves. When that happens, it begins to take root, we have some serious problems that are going to reach to us in middle school. Beyond that, we need to, at an early age, begin to understand how the brain is really operating in terms of the strategies kids are using that might not be helping them learn well. So I'll give you a real simple example, right? Work from Robert Dilts and some others showed that spelling, right, is a very visual strategy. And kids who struggle with spelling struggle to visualize. Math is also very visually oriented. In fact, visualization is a real important aspect of traditional learning. So when kids are wired such that they don't really know how to visualize, it's not their natural wiring, and the world is being inputted on them in that kind of visual mode. We talk about the importance of hands-on learning, which I can get to later. But rather than teaching a better visualization skill, strategy, right, we don't really know what to do with that. We try to make something hands-on, but there's not really a hands-on strategy to teach that. There are some kinesthetic strategies that you will see some kids who do well in spelling bees. Like I've watched kids spell out on their hand, right? This is what they do. So they get a kinesthetic piece, but it's forcing a visualization component to it. But if we can teach kids how to visualize who don't do that naturally, that is one way to really help develop their learning, their decision-making strategies. If we understand the strategies they're using that may or may not be helpful, we can then help teach them better strategies. And we do not do that well with kids who struggle academically. Now, I do want to say we've come a long ways, and special ed laws have been really beneficial. There's a lot of good programs in there to help kids uh, do better at things like reading and writing. We offered a really great middle school writing program that got rave reviews on how well we were able to help kids develop writing, many of them who had struggled. Bottom line is, when we begin to understand the strategies that kids are using. And it could be study strategies, it could be some of those habits, it could be their beliefs about themselves that are getting in the way, right? But then there are the things that are kind of organic, processing speed, right? Dyslexia, there's things like that that are going on inside the brain. And when we're beginning to understand those things now, there are solutions to helping get the early interventions, accommodations to help. One of the dangers with accommodations, the way they're set up now, is when you remove the responsibility from the learner and place it on a disability. I can't do that because I have dyslexia. I can't do that because I have slow processing speed. Whatever it is, when you remove the responsibility for trying to get better, I can't because of this, we have a problem. And that's what many of the special ed laws do because of the way they are written, the way we have to write IEPs, etc. So that is something we really should be exploring, and parents, you should be vocal about it, recognizing that, yes, some kids organically, their brains don't function the same way. There's our challenge. What can we do about it? I am responsible for what I can do about it, right? Like I have to do something to improve that, right? It's still here with me. So we do know this. Things like positive behavior interventions not only help improve behavior, they help improve academics. And not just for the child who's exhibiting other behaviors, for classrooms in general. When behavior is good, overall, performance improves. Developing a whole culture of learning what works. Social emotional learning. This is kind of a big thing in education now. The whole idea behind both positive behavior intervention and social emotional learning, as I refer to it all the time, it's about mindset. We need to train the mindset. And I go beyond Carol Dweck's work, just talking about a growth mindset. That absolutely. But we can go beyond that because mindset is context dependent. So you can have a mindset about your learning, you can have a mindset about your relationships, you can have a mindset around competition, you can have a mindset around all kinds of different contextual components. And we need to be able to master our mindset in any of those. And there's some principles and skills and tools that need to get not just taught, but trained, some habits developed. The earlier you can do that, the better. But even by the time you reach in middle school, there's still going to be some things that we need to clean up because there'll be some old habits, some old beliefs that got adopted at a young age that really in elementary school, they weren't quite ready to kind of fully find the root cause of that. By the time they're in middle school, we can. Elementary school, hopefully you can interrupt those before they take root. And the more you can do that with kids, the better off. So that is an important component that's missing, particularly in early education. All right, there's two other aspects of learning that really can begin at early age. One's independent learning, teaching yourself, solving problems yourself, following directions, doing something, then coming together as a group and sharing how you solve a problem, how you learned something, what you got out of something, where you can also have modeling done by the teacher, by listening to other students in a dialogue, group learning, conversations, sharing of ideas. Those two things, independent learning, group learning, incredibly valuable. Start early and build that into the culture of the community. Now, as we come to the end of this video, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Check out other videos. In particular, you might want to check out the video, How Can Public School Systems Be Improved? So check that video out today. Come back, watch some more, and I'll see you in the next one.